Success leaves clues. Many of you are here just to see what does the old fart sound like. What does the old fart look like? I've already been told at least 5 or 6 times on this trip, I didn't know you were so big and tall. Because the short people that I have pictures with always fuck around with the pictures. Grant Cardone and those guys, the nice guys, Brian Rose, can fit under my armpit. Yet when you see them online, it looks like we're the same height. I'm 185 centimeters, 110 kilos. They're about 160 centimeters, and I don't know if they can measure that lightly. But success leaves clues. You are who you now, I don't like the word hang. You are who you're exposed to, the average of the 5 people. Now let's just take you, young man. If we were to, I had a magic wand, or Sister Luce has a magic wand. I got Sister Luce here and I said, this guy, we're gonna make his kids, I'm not asking if you have kids, be the average of the 5 people that he spends most of the time with. Very few people in this room would want their children to be the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with. Certainly not 5 of your relatives. In 51 years of speaking, I've never had anybody tell me they wanted it to be like their relatives. And we all know why, don't we? They don't go out of the way to fuck you up, but they fuck you up just the same. I'm getting closer to that edge there. Now, when I spent 3 or 4 weeks ago on the Mediterranean in a big yacht with my wife, who gave us the trip for my 79th birthday, my kid brother, 65, and myself, he just retired as the number 2 guy in the 3rd largest fire department in the United States. So he went up the civil service ladder, and my father beat him about half as much as he beat me. Tough love. I mean beat. I have spoken in front of groups where the kids have never been screamed at. I've spoken in front of groups the kids never got punished, slapped. I can't imagine. I have spoken in front of groups where the kids never got in a fist fight on the school grounds. I can't imagine you being raised that way. Impossible. But in today's age, it is possible. And now, if a father smacks a kid, he can go to jail. Now in Scotland, if I call, I can't see a big fat lard ass yet, but whoever the fattest lard ass is in the room, if I call you fat lard ass, that's a hate crime, and I can go to jail in Scotland. For all the times I've called people bald, ugly, fat, lard, I should be in jail for a million years. So that's where we've come to. We all have caveman DNA in our loins. When if I liked her and you were, I just kill him and grab you by your hair and drag you off to my cave. Some that play down deep. For this group, real deep, you've still got it. You've still got it. But nobody promotes it to be a good thing now. They all say it's a bad thing. Several of you want to save the world. I have no idea why, but you want to save the world. Go out and make a bunch of money and then save the world. Don't stand in front of embassies crying and yelling and pissing and moaning to save the world if you're not doing something, if you're not making a sacrifice. One of my keys to success is my countless 100 to 120 hour work weeks. For 10 years straight, I worked between 100 and 120 hours every single week for almost 10 years to the day. I've had kids say, I didn't know you could work 120 hours. Isn't that more hours than there is in a week? How bad do you want it? One of my current poster family, not children, are this couple that came to me 6 years ago. They had 4 or 5 employees. They had revenue turnover of about 700,000 or 800,000 pounds. Now they have thousands of employees and hundreds of millions in revenue, and they live all over the world. And they sent their 14-year-old son to me a couple years ago to go through the training, and he just turned 16. He dropped out of school, and he just bought his first company. He's rolling up sports pubs. He's 16. I have 13, 14, 15-year-old multimillionaires. We'll get into that, how they did it. The Carlings. They're all over the internet. They're the stars of Scotland, just one of my many. Now, some people say that I'm the Superman of financial knowledge. That's not really true. But what I am the Superman of is holding people accountable. If you tell me something, kid, you better fucking mean it. Because I'll hound you the rest of your life. And I mean it when I say it. We just had a doctor cheat me in America. It's in the news. After 7 years of me working for nothing and doing all those smart things, he decided that, anyway, he just filed bankruptcy last week, and corporate bankruptcy, and I took everything he had. And now I want to take his parents' money because they raised him. Now, what example would I have given you if I just didn't bankrupt this guy? I got plenty of them. Believe me. And Elon, Steve, Jeff, all these guys that you admire. You admire what they've done for the world, supposedly, most of which they've done for themselves, but you're not willing to make the sacrifices they made. Now, this is a bit of a stretch for me, even for the nuns and the priests, although I'm tight with them. I am not God. But a financial God, I'm the closest thing on this planet. Nobody has created teenage multimillionaires to the largest financial transaction in recorded history, $500 billion, NEOM, the future city of Saudi Arabia. Nobody. I've created millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions, tens of billions, and hundreds of billions. And nobody else that walks on this green earth, soon to be not so green, can say that. I'm the only person that predicted negative oil in 2020. Out of 8 billion people, not one single economist thought that we'd ever get to negative oil, except me. I thought we'd go to negative 24, we went to negative 37. Why? I'm fucking super smart for starters, but that's not just the only reason. Because I can connect a lot of dots, because I've been around a long, long time. And I've been here in 1951, 52. I was here in 1967, 68. I was here, and I see the difference. And I can say sadly that not just this place, but you're all getting weaker. We used to say when there was an Iron Curtain and I was an intelligence officer on the other side, we're lucky. We used to call them the Ruskies. We're lucky, and East Germans were called Hermans. We're lucky the Ruskies and the Hermans don't decide to cross that Iron Curtain because they're going to fuck us for practice. I normally about this time show a film, but I'm not doing. It's a 2-minute film. It's of some idiot. And I was near the button to be able to push the atomic bomb back in the day. Some idiot pushes the button. 2,100 nuclear missiles. 42 minutes later, we evaporated 7 billion people. 42 minutes later. We're less 7 billion, or we have about 1 billion left. So unless you really understand the stats and connect those dots, but there's reason why the countries don't want to go to big-time war. And in my humble opinion, and there's nothing humble about me if you haven't figured it out yet, it's not likely NATO will ever defend anybody. Multimillionaires. How does a 13, 14, 15-year-old kid create tens of millions? Certainly not the way you're doing it. Now, I only brought 3 examples. I wanted to bring 3 examples that could identify closest with the audience. This is a little bit of a joke. It's probably over your heads. A little bit of a joke. These are three of my superstars. The guy on the top right is a guy that sells balloons and shit at the beach. No education, 80, 90 IQ maybe. The gal on the top left is the highest priced escort on the planet. They call them escorts, but hooker, prostitute, highest price. And the girl on the bottom is a pole dancer from London, originally from Nigeria, I think. All multi-millionaires, all no money. But my favorite is the guy that sells balloons and shit and umbrellas at the beach. You know, like an umbrella they sell for 10 euros, costs them 20 cents. Now that's a great model if you can expand it. These guys had all the excuses in the world not to be successful. And the girls were raped, beaten, all the stuff. Gang rape, the pole dancer, if I remember correctly. The escort was raped by the New York Yankees. I mean, whatever bad could happen to a woman happened to those two girls. Somehow. The Malta guy, the bum with the umbrellas, had the easiest life. He was just dirt fucking poor. Nobody raped him, nobody beat him. He'd go to sleep in his little trailer, and in the morning half his shit be stolen. That's the worst thing that happened to him. The girls are good fucking, I know it doesn't matter what they look like now, but I can't get over that either. I'm sorry, I'm not sorry, that's a lie. Another mentee. Went to the seminar, he wanted to be my neighbor. Poor, no money. He bought the castle down the street. I'm going to say it again slow. Poor, no money. Why do the three largest sovereign funds on the planet, Norway, China, and Kuwait, ask me for advice? And don't come to your head of the economics department here. Why? I used to make fun of the B schools in America. One of the first questions I'd ask is, how many classes have you had in buying a business? Nobody raised their hand. How many classes have you had in selling a business? Nobody raised their hand. How many classes have you had in leadership? Except for when I went to Annapolis, the military naval academy, nobody raised their hand. So I used to say, and you call yourself a school of business. Well, 4 or 5 years ago, Wharton, University of Pennsylvania, which I've had the privilege of speaking at, finally started a class on how to sell a business. By an accountant, PhD, that never owned a fucking business. I'm going to repeat that again. He's teaching a class on how to sell a business. He never owned a business. I'm sure this school's different. But with all my success and all the success of the kids that I've shown you so far, you can't forget for where you're from. Because that's either the seed or the foundation for why you're successful or why you're not more successful. Now, I saw a few heads go up and down when I was talking about families. They're all fucked up. My mother told me gave me 2 bits of good advice. She said, you really think you like this girl? Go look at her mother. What does her mother look like? And I went to look at her mother. Her mother looked like a Volkswagen. A Volkswagen bus on top of it, okay? And the other thing she said was that don't go to bed with dogs, you get up with fleas. She was talking about the quality of girls that I might have dated when I was in high school before I went into the military. Families don't do it on purpose, but they certainly do it. I met with a well-to-do guy here recently while I was here in Poland, and he was telling me his daughter is a spoiled brat. Well, our children are spoiled vis-a-vis, they weren't raised poor, but we made them accountable. My kids have to make an appointment to talk to me on the phone. They have to give one of my assistants an agenda. What do you want to talk to your father about? About 25, 30 years ago, I got 3 worldwide free mobile phones, one for Europe, one for Asia, and one for America, for my 3 kids to call me wherever I was in the world. You know how many times my children have called me in 25 years? 0. 0. Our oldest son is 42, our youngest son is 40, and our daughter just turned 38, and they've called me 0 times. Sounds harsh, doesn't it? That's only the tip of the iceberg of how they were raised. They went to the best schools they could get in, and arguably they got into very good schools. But I'm not interested in their crying and bitching and whining. Just not. I think the internet, 100,000 years from now, Facebook is going to be called the most lethal tool to dam down self-esteem that was ever invented. If you're concerned because people disliked you, young girls commit suicide because of Facebook. There's something wrong there. 10,000 years or maybe 1,000 years from now, they'll say that. Now, I was born in, they call me a Neanderthal. I was born in an era that nobody in this room really understands. Between the 6th and the 9th of August, 1945, 2 atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I was born the 10th of August. For those of you that have seen the Godzilla movies, the atomic bomb makes a little lizard into Godzilla. That's the theory. There are not too many of me left. There's a few. But when my generation dies out, the world's going to be fucked to the 10th power. The dog-eat-dog characteristics I have, that Elon has, he'd rather commit suicide than fail, that Jeff has, that Steve had, are dead forever. They're dead. And we'll see how far the world progresses. And for those of you that think that AI is not going to take your job away, you're stupid. Brain dead. 25 years from now, we're going to need between 25 and 40% less employees because of AI. And that's certainly not the story they're selling everybody. Now remember, I know different people. Sally and I visited the Pentagon last year. I mean, we know people in MI5, MI6, you know, the CIA. Who do you know? Nobody. You know, a dipshit college professor that may or may not be good for those of the students, and the rest of you know your fucking family that I already know aren't any good. And there, about the time I came to Poland the first time, 51, that's what I looked like, standing in front of my house. My little house in the body of the hood. I still remember the little gun set my dad bought me from Sears and Roebuck. Cost $12, which was big fucking money in 1951. That's where my house used to be. They knocked it down because it turned into a crack den or whatever you call them. You can see by the chain link fence and the wall, house wasn't that big. It was 600 square feet. That's the school I tried to kill my teacher in, Doris Place. And the window is not in this picture, it's over there. And I dropped an aquarium, about a 40-pound aquarium, onto his head from the 2nd story. And if he hadn't moved 6 or 8 inches to that way, he would be dead, but it hit him in the shoulder, dislocated his shoulders down to here. And when I go back, and Sally and I are generous to the school, we buy stuff for him, but Sally makes the school accountable. They wanted to spend 25 grand, or was it 50 grand? I forget how much money on something, and so my wife asked, my wife's a chartered accountant, international tax expert. She said, how does that 50 grand benefit students. But the teacher, the principal says, Mr. Peña, how can you even be here and stand on the campus, when you got in so much trouble here? And then we went around the courtyard, and I said, right here, I broke a kid's arm in 7 places. Right over here, I put a kid's eye out. Right, it was like memory lane for me. And the kid, when I knocked him down, I didn't remember the snap. He says, I think you broke my arm, and I went, now it's broken, you little cunt. I was angry, still am, because I'm only going to flip 2 or 3 of you in this audience to the dark side. Only 2 or 3. I wish it was 20 or 30, but I know better. I've been giving these speeches a long time, and I do it for free. So is that my way of giving back? I hope not, because I'd like to be more successful than 2 or 3 out of 200. But of those 2 or 3, somebody's got the chance of being a billionaire. And of those 2 or 3, they're going to go and do good with the billion or billions. So that makes me feel good. There I am as a senior in high school, and had no athletic prowess whatsoever, but I learned that I could, as the girls that I used to date would say, Danny didn't know what no meant, N-O. And I could sell ice to the Eskimos. And the mothers always loved me. The fathers always hated me. I never met a father that didn't hate me when I was dating. And I never met a mother that didn't love me. I was their fantasy they didn't catch when they were young. And the father knew I was up to no good. I will neither confirm nor deny that. But it was a different era. A different era. Good things come to those who go out and fucking earn it. With 100 hours a week. And I know things are better in Poland now. But if you think this is good, I've never done drugs. I had a marijuana cookie, a little sidebar. About 5-6 years ago, Sally and I are in Amsterdam with one of my partners, and I never did. Somehow I got through the 60s without drugs. And so they bought me a big cookie like this. So I started eating the cookie, and then we went out to dinner. I said, shit, even the water tastes good. Jesus Christ. And then so they both started laughing, and they said, well, that's a marijuana cookie, and blah, 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 blah.